The night the pack turned against her. The moon refused to hide. It hung in the sky like a silent judge, bathing the clearing in pale silver light. Wolves gathered from every corner of the territory, forming a wide circle around the ancient stone altar at the center. Elara stood there, alone. Hundreds of eyes watched her, some curious, some angry, most of them cold. A whisper started somewhere in the crowd, then another. Soon the clearing filled with the sound of voices speaking her name like it had become something dirty. Traitor. She betrayed the pack. Disgrace. Elara clenched her fists to stop them from shaking. She had grown up among these wolves. She had hunted beside them, trained beside them, bled beside them. Yet now they looked at her like she was a stranger, or worse. At the front of the gathering stood Beta Rowan, tall, imposing, perfectly calm. His silver cloak moved slightly in the night wind as he stepped forward. "The evidence has already been presented," Rowan said, his voice carrying easily across the clearing. "Elara Nightwind has been secretly meeting with outsiders beyond our borders." A wave of shocked murmurs spread through the pack. Ilara's heart pounded. "That's a lie," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. Rowan turned his head slowly toward her, as if amused by her courage. "Is it?" He raised a piece of cloth, torn fabric, dark blue. Elara felt the blood drain from her face. It was from her cloak. "This was found near the northern border, at the exact location where a rival pack attempted to cross 3 nights ago." Gasps erupted from the crowd. Ilara's mind raced. Someone had planted it. Someone had planned this. "You know I would never betray the pack," she said, scanning the faces around her. "All of you know me." But no one answered. Even Mira, the girl who had once called Elara her sister, refused to meet her eyes. The silence hurt more than any accusation. The elders stepped forward, 3 ancient wolves whose authority could not be questioned. Their faces were lined with age, their eyes heavy with the burden of leadership. "The safety of the pack must come first," the eldest said slowly. Ilara's chest tightened. "You cannot seriously believe this," she whispered. The elder sighed. "Whether you are guilty or not, the evidence has divided the pack." He raised his staff. "Elara Nightwind, you are stripped of your rank and name." The words echoed across the clearing like thunder. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "You will leave our territory before sunrise, and you will never return." Exile. The cruelest punishment a wolf could receive. Elara felt something crack inside her chest. Her entire life had been here. Every memory, every friend, every dream, destroyed in a single night. She looked directly at Rowan. For a moment, something dark flickered behind his eyes. Satisfaction. He wanted this. He had planned this. But before she could speak again, the crowd began to disperse. The decision had been made, and to them, she already no longer existed. No one approached her. No one defended her. No one even said goodbye. Elara walked away from the clearing as the torches slowly faded behind her. The forest swallowed the sounds of the pack. Cold wind brushed through the trees. For the first time in her life, she was completely alone. But as she crossed the final ridge that marked the edge of the territory, something shifted in the forest. The air grew heavier, the silence deeper. Every wolf in the north knew the stories. Beyond this border lay land that belonged to no pack, only one ruler, the Alpha King. And as Elara unknowingly stepped into his territory, golden eyes opened somewhere in the darkness, watching her, waiting, because the wolf they had just exiled was about to become something far more dangerous than any of them could imagine. Elara realized something was wrong when the forest stopped making noise. No birds, no insects, not even the rustling of leaves. It was the kind of silence that pressed against your ears until your heart started beating louder than the world around you. She slowed her steps. Every instinct inside her screamed that she had crossed into dangerous land. The northern forest was feared for one reason: the Alpha King. Some believed he ruled a hidden empire of wolves. Others said he walked alone because no wolf was strong enough to stand beside him. Either way, one truth remained the same: no one entered his territory and lived. Elara swallowed hard. "I just need a place to rest," she murmured to herself. Her legs ached from hours of walking. Exhaustion pulled at her muscles, but she forced herself to keep moving deeper into the forest. Then, a growl broke the silence. Low, threatening, right behind her. Elara froze. Slowly, carefully, she turned around. Two glowing eyes stared back at her from the shadows. Then 4, then 8. Massive wolves stepped silently from the darkness, surrounding her in a perfect circle. Their fur was black as midnight, their bodies larger than any wolves she had ever seen. Royal bards. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "I don't want trouble," she said carefully. None of the wolves moved. They simply watched her, waiting, judging. Then the ground vibrated beneath heavy footsteps. The guards instantly lowered their heads, parting like shadows retreating from the light. A figure emerged from between the trees. At first, Elara thought the moon itself had followed him. His eyes glowed molten gold. He was taller than any man she had ever seen, broad-shouldered and radiating a power so intense the air itself seemed to bend around him. The Alpha King. Every instinct in her body screamed to kneel, but she didn't. Instead, she forced herself to hold his gaze. "You crossed my border," he said. His voice was calm, deep, dangerously controlled. "I didn't know," Elara answered. A faint smile touched his lips. "Everyone knows." He stepped closer. The guards tensed around them. One command from him and they would tear her apart before she could even scream. But the Alpha King didn't give that command. Instead, he studied her. His golden gaze traveled over the dirt on her clothes, the scratches on her arms, the exhaustion in her eyes. "You're not from a rogue pack," he observed. "No." "Then why are you alone in my forest?" Elara hesitated. The truth tasted bitter in her mouth. "I was exiled." Something flickered across his expression. Interest. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his body against the cold night air. Then he inhaled, slowly, deeply, and suddenly his entire posture changed. The golden light in his eyes burned brighter. Ancient, dangerous, impossible. The wolves surrounding them stiffened. They felt it too. "What is it?" Elara asked, uneasily. The Alpha King tilted his head slightly, studying her like she had become the most fascinating thing in the world. Then he spoke quietly. "You smell like something that belongs to me." Elara frowned. "That doesn't make sense." His smile returned, slow, predatory. "Oh, it does." He reached out and gently lifted her chin so she had no choice but to meet his glowing gaze. "You are my mate." The forest went completely still. Even the wind stopped moving. Elara's heart skipped. "That's impossible." The Alpha King's smile only widened. "We're about to find out." Far away, Her former pack slept peacefully, believing they had erased Elara Nightwind from existence. They had no idea that the girl they had cast out in shame had just been claimed by the most powerful alpha alive. For several seconds, Elara forgot how to breathe. The words echoed in her mind like thunder. "You are my mate." The Alpha King had said it so casually, as if he were stating a simple fact about the weather. But nothing about this moment was simple. The wolves surrounding them shifted uneasily, their glowing eyes darting between their king and the strange woman standing before him. A mate. Their king had just claimed a mate. Elara pulled her chin away from his hand, stepping back. "No," she said quickly, "you're wrong." The Alpha King didn't move. He simply watched her with those burning golden eyes, as if every reaction she had was confirming something he already knew. "You doubt me," he said calmly. "Yes," Elara answered immediately. She folded her arms, trying to create distance between them. "I'm not even part of your pack. I crossed your border by accident. I don't belong here." A faint smile appeared on his lips. "That has nothing to do with it." Elara shook her head. "No, this has to be some kind of mistake. Mates are chosen by the moon goddess. They don't just appear randomly in a forest." One of the guards behind her let out a low growl. The Alpha King lifted a single finger. The growl stopped instantly. Authority flowed from him like gravity. "Your scent says otherwise," he said. Elara felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm exhausted. That's probably what you're smelling." For the first time, the Alpha King actually laughed. It was a deep, rich sound that rolled through the clearing like distant thunder. "You're either very brave," he said, stepping closer again, "or very unaware of who you're speaking to." Elara refused to move. "I know exactly who you are." "Do you?" "You're the Alpha King, the wolf everyone fears." His golden eyes sharpened. "And yet you're still arguing with me." Elara opened her mouth to respond. Then the world suddenly tilted. Her vision blurred. The exhaustion she had been ignoring all night finally caught up with her. Her knees buckled. Before she could hit the ground, strong arms caught her. The Alpha King. She tried to push away. "I'm fine," she muttered weakly. "You're collapsing." "That's not the same thing." Another small laugh escaped him. "You're stubborn." Elara's vision darkened at the edges. The last thing she felt was the warmth of his arms as he lifted her effortlessly. The guards watched silently. None of them had ever seen their king carry anyone before, especially not with that expression. Curiosity, possession. Something ancient stirred in the air. As the Alpha King began walking deeper into the forest, one of the guards finally spoke. "My king, if the packs discover she is here—" "They won't," he interrupted calmly. "And if they do?" The Alpha King's golden eyes flashed in the darkness. "Then they will learn something important." "What is that?" He glanced down at the unconscious girl in his arms. "That the wolf they cast away belongs to me now." When Elara woke up, she thought she was dreaming. The ceiling above her was carved from dark stone, decorated with ancient symbols she didn't recognize. Soft light filtered through tall windows. She sat up quickly. The bed beneath her was enormous, far larger than anything she had ever slept in before. The blankets were warm. Too warm. This was not the cold forest floor she remembered. Panic surged through her chest. Where was she? Memories rushed back. The exile, the forest, the wolves, the Alpha King. Her heart skipped. Before she could stand, the door to the chamber slowly opened, and the Alpha King stepped inside. He looked exactly the same as before, powerful, calm, terrifyingly composed, except now he wore dark clothing that made him look less like a wild predator and more like a ruler, which, Elara realized, he probably was. "You're awake," he said. Elara immediately swung her legs off the bed. "I need to leave." The Alpha King raised an eyebrow. "You can barely stand." "I'm leaving anyway." She took 2 steps forward. Her legs trembled. The room spun. She grabbed the edge of the bed to stay upright. The Alpha King watched her struggle with mild amusement. "Stubborn," he muttered again. Elara glared at him. "You kidnapped me." "I carried you after you collapsed." "That's not better." He crossed the room slowly. Every movement he made was controlled, deliberate. "You were unconscious in my territory," he said. "Leaving you in the forest would have been irresponsible. You could have dropped me outside your border." "And risk my mate freezing to death?" Elara groaned in frustration. "We already talked about that." "Yes," he said calmly, "and you were wrong then too." She folded her arms. "I am not your mate." The Alpha King studied her carefully. "Tell me something," he said. "What?" "Why did your pack exile you?" The question hit harder than she expected. Elara hesitated. "They accused me of helping enemy wolves cross the border." "And did you?" "No." His gaze remained steady. "Then why did no one defend you?" The silence stretched. Elara looked away. Because that was the part she didn't understand either. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. The Alpha King watched her for a moment. Then he turned toward the door. "Rest," he said. "I told you I'm leaving." "You will," he replied calmly. Elara blinked. That wasn't the response she expected. "Really?" "Yes." He looked back at her. "But first, you're going to eat, regain your strength, and stop pretending you can outrun exhaustion." Elara hesitated. He wasn't wrong. Her body still felt weak. "And then?" asked Elara. "Then," the Alpha King said, his golden eyes glowing faintly, "you can decide whether you want to return to the pack that threw you away, or stay with the one that just claimed you." The door closed behind him. Elara stared at the empty room. Outside the tall windows, mountains stretched endlessly beneath the moon. She had expected the forest, not a castle, not guards, not a king, and definitely not a fate tied to the most dangerous alpha alive. But somewhere far to the south, her former pack had just received troubling news. A scout had returned breathless with a message. The exiled girl they thought would vanish in shame had been seen entering the territory of the Alpha King, and worse, she had not been killed. She had been taken. The news spread through the Nightwind pack like wildfire. At first, no one believed it. A single scout had returned at dawn, breathless and pale, claiming he had seen something impossible. "Elara crossed into the Northern Territory," he told the elders, still shaking. "The Alpha King's wolves surrounded her." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. "Then she's dead," one elder said immediately. "No one survives there." But the scout shook his head. "That's the problem," he whispered. The room fell silent. "What do you mean?" another elder demanded. The scout swallowed. "I saw the Alpha King himself." Even Beta Rowan stiffened at that. "Speak clearly," Rowan ordered. The scout forced the words out. "He didn't kill her." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. "He took her." The elders exchanged uneasy glances. "That's impossible," one of them said. "No outsider enters his land and lives." "That's what I thought too," the scout replied, "but he carried her away like she belonged there." Rowan's expression darkened. "Did you hear anything?" he asked slowly. The scout hesitated, then nodded. "I heard one of the guards say something." "What?" The scout's voice dropped. "They called her the king's mate." The chamber exploded. "That's absurd. Elara, the Alpha King's mate? It must be a misunderstanding." But Rowan didn't join the shouting. He stood completely still, thinking, calculating. because if it was true, everything had just become dangerous, very dangerous. If the Alpha King had claimed Elara as his mate, that meant one thing. She now had protection from the most powerful wolf alive. Rowan clenched his jaw. That could not be allowed. Because if Elara lived long enough, she might start asking questions. And if she discovered the truth about the night she was exiled, Rowan's entire plan would collapse. The elder's voice broke through the noise. What if the claim is real? The room quieted again. If the Alpha King truly believes she is his mate, then harming her would mean war. Rowan finally spoke. Then we won't harm her. The elders turned to him. Rowan's eyes were cold. We will bring her back. The scout frowned. Back? Yes. Rowan's smile was thin and dangerous. After all, she still belongs to our pack. But inside his mind, another thought formed, one far darker. If Elara returned, she would never leave again. Elara spent the entire day exploring the massive stone castle. It still didn't feel real. Servants moved quietly through the halls. Guards stood at every entrance. Massive windows overlooked forests that stretched for miles. This wasn't just a territory, it was a kingdom, and somehow she had woken up in the center of it. You look like someone trying to convince herself this isn't happening. Elara turned. The Alpha King leaned casually against the doorway behind her, watching her. She sighed. You keep appearing out of nowhere. It's my castle. Still unsettling. He stepped closer. You're stronger today. I ate and rested. Don't get used to it, she said quickly. I'm still leaving. The Alpha King studied her for a moment. Why? Elara blinked. What do you mean, why? You were exiled, he said calmly. Your pack threw you away. That doesn't mean I belong here. You don't belong there either. The words stung. Elara crossed her arms defensively. You don't know anything about my pack. No, he admitted, but I know wolves. His golden eyes locked onto hers. And wolves don't abandon their own unless something is very wrong. Elara didn't respond, because deep down, she had been thinking the same thing. The Alpha King walked to the large window beside her. Tell me, he said quietly, did the accusations make sense to you? No. Did anyone defend you? No. Did anyone even question the evidence? Elara hesitated. No. He nodded slowly. Then someone wanted you gone. The realization settled heavily in the room. Elara stared at the mountains beyond the window. I've thought about that, she admitted softly, but I can't prove it. The Alpha King turned toward her. You don't need to. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means, he said calmly, that if someone in your pack betrayed you, I will find out. Elara blinked. Why would you do that? His gaze softened slightly. Because someone tried to destroy my mate. Elara groaned. We're still arguing about that. The Alpha King smirked faintly. No, you are. Before she could respond, a sudden guard rushed into the room. My king. The Alpha King turned. What is it? A delegation from the Nightwind pack has arrived at the southern border. Elara froze. Her pack? What do they want? The king asked. The guard hesitated. They say they've come to retrieve one of their wolves. Silence filled the room. The Alpha King slowly turned his head toward Elara, golden eyes glowing faintly. Well, he said quietly, it seems your pack suddenly remembers you exist. The southern border of the Alpha King's territory had never been quiet. Massive wolves patrolled the ridges day and night, their senses sharper than steel blades. No outsider crossed into this land unnoticed. which was exactly why the arrival of the Night Wind delegation caused immediate tension. 5 wolves waited at the edge of the forest. Among them stood Beta Rowan, tall, calm, smiling politely as if he had not just stepped into the most dangerous territory in the north. Across from them, a line of black-furred guards blocked the path deeper into the forest. The air between the two groups was thick with hostility. One of the royal guards stepped forward. "You stand on the border of the Alpha King," he said coldly. "State your purpose and leave." Rowan clasped his hands behind his back. "We came for one of our wolves." The guard's eyes narrowed. "You mean the woman." "Elara Nightwind," Rowan confirmed. "That wolf was exiled by her pack. She no longer belongs to you." Rowan's smile didn't fade. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding." Behind him, one of the Nightwind wolves shifted nervously. Everyone knew this was dangerous, but Rowan had insisted on coming himself because he needed to see something with his own eyes. From the shadows of the forest, a new presence approached. Heavy, powerful, dominant. The guards instantly stepped aside, and the Alpha King appeared. The atmosphere changed immediately. Even the wind seemed to pause. Rowan bowed slightly. "Your Majesty?" The Alpha King studied him in silence. Golden eyes sharp as blades. "You walked a long way just to die on my border," he said calmly. One of Rowan's companions inhaled sharply, but Rowan only smiled. "I came peacefully. You came into my territory, to retrieve a member of my pack." The Alpha King's expression hardened. "Not anymore." The words landed like thunder. Rowan's smile finally faded. "What do you mean?" The Alpha King stepped forward. His presence alone forced the Nightwind wolves to step back. "Elara is under my protection." "That is not your decision to make." "Oh?" The Alpha King's eyes glowed brighter. "And whose decision is it?" Rowan opened his mouth, but before he could answer, a voice echoed from behind the guards. "Mine own." Everyone turned. Elara stepped out of the forest. Her heart pounded as dozens of eyes landed on her. Rowan stared. For the first time since arriving, he looked surprised. "Elara," he said softly, "you look well." Elara crossed her arms. "You didn't expect me to survive." Rowan chuckled lightly. "Of course I did." "Liar." The words sliced through the air. Rowan's eyes flickered briefly. "You misunderstand," he said calmly. "We came to bring you home." Elara looked directly at him. "I don't have a home there anymore." Rowan's voice softened. "You always will." The Alpha King stepped beside her. "No," he said quietly, "she won't." And Rowan suddenly realized something he had hoped wasn't true. The Alpha King wasn't protecting Elara out of curiosity. He meant to keep her. The tension at the border grew heavier by the second. 2 packs stood facing each other, and between them stood Elara. Rowan studied her carefully. "You don't belong here," he said gently. Elara almost laughed. "That's funny." "Why?" "Because 3 days ago you told everyone I didn't belong anywhere." Rowan's eyes darkened slightly. "That decision can be reversed. Now that I'm standing beside the Alpha King?" Silence followed. The other Nightwind wolves shifted uncomfortably. Even they could see the truth in her words. Rowan sighed. "Elara, your exile was complicated. Is that what you call it? You know how politics work." Alara's expression hardened. "So now it was politics?" Rowan spread his hands calmly. "Come back with us. The elders are willing to discuss the matter." The Alpha King's voice cut through the conversation like a blade. "She's not going anywhere." Rowan turned to him. "With respect, Your Majesty, this is pack business." "No," the Alpha King replied calmly. "This is mine." He stepped forward. Every wolf present felt the shift in power. "Your pack abandoned her. That is not the same as losing ownership." The word hung in the air. Ownership. Elara's fists clenched, but the Alpha King's reaction was far more dangerous. His golden eyes burned. "You think you still own her?" Rowan didn't back down. "She carries our name." The Alpha King turned toward Elara. "Do you want to return with them?" All eyes landed on her again. The answer suddenly mattered more than anything. Elara looked at Rowan, then at the wolves behind him, then at the Alpha King beside her. She remembered the night of the accusation, the silence, the betrayal. "No," she said. The word was clear, certain. Rowan's expression hardened. "Then you leave us no choice." The Alpha King smiled slowly. "Oh?" Rowan met his gaze. "If you refuse to release her, we will formally challenge your claim." A dangerous silence followed. Then the Alpha King did something unexpected. He reached for Elara's hand and pulled her gently beside him. His voice carried across the border like thunder. "There is no claim to challenge." Rowan frowned. "What do you mean?" The Alpha King's eyes glowed. "Because she is not under my protection." He turned slightly toward Elara. "She is my mate." Gasps spread across both groups. Rowan's face went pale. "You can't be serious." The Alpha King's voice became deadly calm. "I already claimed her." The guards behind him lowered their heads, acknowledging their future queen. Rowan's mind raced. If the Alpha King truly recognized Elara as his mate, then harming her meant declaring war. And Rowan had not come prepared for war. But retreating now would mean losing control of everything. His eyes slowly lifted toward Elara, and in that moment, she realized something terrifying. Rowan wasn't afraid of the Alpha King. He was afraid of her. Rowan's mask of calm was starting to crack. Only slightly, but Elara saw it. For years, she had trusted him as one of the strongest leaders. Now she was seeing something else entirely. Fear. Not fear of the Alpha King, fear of what she might discover. "You're lying," Rowan finally said. The Alpha King raised an eyebrow. "Careful. You cannot simply declare a mate in front of witnesses." The Alpha King's voice dropped. "I don't declare it." His gaze shifted toward Elara. "I recognize it." The air between them seemed to hum, ancient, instinctive, unavoidable. Rowan clenched his jaw. "This changes nothing," he said sharply. "Oh, it changes everything," the Alpha King replied. Elara stepped forward slightly. "Why are you really here, Rowan?" He looked at her. "To bring you home." "No," she said quietly. "You could have done that before the exile." Rowan's silence was answer enough. Elara's mind raced. "You wanted me gone." "That's not true." "Then explain the evidence." Rowan didn't answer. Instead, he said something strange. "You were asking too many questions." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Elara blinked. "What?" Rowan's expression hardened again. "You should have stopped digging." A cold chill ran down Elara's spine. Digging into what? Rowan looked away briefly, and that was the moment the Alpha King understood. "You were hiding something," he said calmly. Rowan's eyes snapped back toward him. "This is not your concern." The Alpha King's smile disappeared. My mate makes it my concern." Silence followed. Then Rowan exhaled slowly. "You should have stayed quiet, Elara." Her heart pounded. "What were you afraid I'd find?" Rowan looked at her with something close to regret. "The truth about the border attacks." Alara's breath caught. "What?" Rowan's voice dropped. "Those rival wolves didn't cross our territory by accident." The Alpha King's eyes narrowed. "You let them in." Rowan didn't deny it. "They paid well." Shock rippled through both groups. "You betrayed your own pack," Elara whispered. Rowan's voice became colder. "I made an alliance. You endangered everyone. I made us stronger." The Alpha King stepped forward. "You made yourself rich." Rowan smiled thinly. "Power always has a price." Elara stared at him. "You framed me." "Yes." The honesty was brutal. "You were getting too close to the truth." A deep growl rumbled through the Alpha King's chest. "You tried to destroy my mate to protect your crimes." Rowan met his gaze without flinching. "And now she knows." His eyes moved back to Elara. "That means she can't be allowed to live." The moment Rowan said it, the entire border erupted in growls. Royal guards moved instantly. Night Wind wolves shifted uneasily. The Alpha King stepped in front of Elara. His voice was deadly quiet. "You just threatened my mate." Rowan didn't retreat. "Yes." The Alpha King's golden eyes burned brighter than the moon. "Then you just declared war." The tension snapped like a stretched wire. Night Wind wolves glanced nervously at each other. They hadn't come here expecting this. Rowan raised a hand, stopping them from panicking. "Relax," he said calmly. Then he looked directly at Elara. "You were supposed to disappear quietly." Alara's voice trembled with anger. "You betrayed the entire pack." "I improved it." "You sold us to enemies." Rowan shrugged slightly. "Strength comes from alliances." The Alpha King's voice dropped. "You mean greed." Rowan's smile returned. "You think your kingdom runs differently?" The Alpha King didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. Power rolled off him like a storm about to break. "You are standing in my territory." "Yes." "You threatened my mate." "Yes." The Alpha King's voice became ice. "And you confessed to treason in front of witnesses." Rowan's smile finally faded. "You think that matters?" The Alpha King leaned slightly closer. "It matters to the wolves who followed you here." Rowan glanced back. For the first time, doubt appeared among his own companions. They had just heard their leader admit to betrayal. Rowan's jaw tightened. "You're manipulating them." "I'm revealing you." The Alpha King raised his voice slightly. "Every wolf here heard the truth." One of the Night Wind wolves stepped back. Another lowered his head uneasily. Rowan realized the situation was collapsing, so he made the only move left. He shifted. Bones cracked, muscles expanded. In seconds, a massive gray wolf stood where he had been. The Alpha King's eyes flashed. "So you chose violence." Alara's heart pounded. Everything was happening too fast. Royal guards began shifting as well. The forest filled with the sound of snapping bones and rising growls. War. It had started. Rowan's massive wolf form crouched low, his eyes locked onto Elara. She understood instantly. He wasn't attacking the Alpha King, he was attacking her. "Stay behind me," the Alpha King ordered, but Rowan had already lunged. A blur of gray fur and teeth exploded forward. The Alpha King moved faster. His transformation was almost instant. Golden light flashed through the forest. A colossal black wolf slammed into Rowan midair. The impact shook the ground. Wolves scattered, growls echoed through the mountains. Elara stumbled backward as the two alphas crashed into the earth. Claws tore through soil, teeth snapped inches from throats. But within seconds, it became clear who the stronger wolf was. The Alpha King pinned Rowan to the ground, massive jaws inches from his neck. The forest fell silent. Rowan's wolf growled weakly beneath him. The Alpha King's voice echoed through the minds of every wolf present. "This is what happens when you threaten what belongs to me." And in that moment, every wolf realized something terrifying. The war between packs had already begun, and Elara, the girl they once cast out in shame, had just become the center of it all.